Welcome to How We Met. I'm Sheryl Strich, and every month I get to meet with two couples from Laguna Woods who tell their story about how they met. Today we'll start off with Stuart and Marti Hack. Marti and Stuart are ardent supporters of the State of Israel, primarily through the Jewish National Fund. Stuart is a golfer. He's also chairman of the Reformed Temple's Endowment Fund and the Temple's VP of Fundraising. He's an advisor on Third Mutual's Residential Policy and Compliance Committee, and he's on the Garden Villa Rec Room Subcommittee. He's also involved in Al-Anon. Further, his ceramic sculptures have been featured in a gallery in Laguna Beach. Now, Marti, although she says that she just sits around and eats bonbons, she's currently the president of the Reformed Temple and plays a mean game of mahjong. Welcome. Did I get everything in?
Actually, Stuart is the president of the Garden Villa Association. 81 three-story buildings, approximately 2,000.
Well, you left that out when I asked you about information, but thank you.
We thought that was obvious.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you for coming on, and let's get started. My first question is, where are you from? And I think you're both from different places, so Stuart, why don't you start?
Born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland, and lived in Florida for 7 years, and then came out here in 2000.
And Marti?
Born in St. Louis, lived in New York, then Baltimore, which is where we eventually met in a small shtetl.
Whoa, ho, 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 ho. Okay. We'll get to that. Okay.
So Baltimore. I call Baltimore home.
Okay. How long have you guys been a couple?
16 years, 17 years this July, yeah.
Great. And how long have you been in Laguna Woods?
Okay, I moved here in 2002, and Marti and I were married in 2007, and that's when she moved. She informed me that I was geographically desirable.
Okay. All right, let's get started. How did you meet?
We lived in a small community in Baltimore, northwest Baltimore, and it was a neighborhood that was heavily wooded, so you never saw your neighbors. And the first winter that we were there were only 8 families, and we had horrible snows, and we all kind of bonded. And Stuart lived down the hill.
Marti has always lived up the hill.
Yes, and he was down. And we met in that neighborhood with different spouses.
Oh, with different spouses.
Yes.
Yeah. We raised our children in that neighborhood.
Yeah, and my oldest daughter used to babysit for his girls.
So you raised your children simultaneously with different spouses?
Yes.
And then, okay, so that's how you met. And then how did you become a couple?
Well,
So I would go back to Baltimore every year to visit my mother, my sister, one of my daughters, and I always met up with mutual friends that we had. Our group would do New Year's Eve together, and for all the time we lived there. And so I would come back every year, and one year I'm meeting with mutual friends, and they say, "You should know that Marti is divorced." And I said, "No."
and he had been divorced at this point.
Yeah, and we talked and ate, and then they said, "Did you know that Marti lives in such and such a place?" And I said,
so you had moved out of the neighborhood?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. They just kept feeding me tidbits, the hook, you know. And finally, I say, "You want to give me her phone number?" And there was silence, and I thought, this is strange, but it was really the hook sinking in even deeper. I had to practically beg for a phone number.
Did you know Stuart was coming to town?
No, I had no idea, but I had been divorced about maybe 5-6 years and was traveling a lot with the hotel business. But one Saturday night I'm sitting at home by myself and saying, "Okay, God, why am I sitting here by myself?" And I didn't want to go to bars to pick up men, and I traveled a lot. I was in hotels, so long story short, I wrote about 6 pages of, "Okay, God, if there's somebody out there for me, this is what I'm looking for. And I did everything from he had to be artistic, a good businessman, a man of character. Oh, and by the way, by this point I had converted to Judaism. He's got to be Jewish. And now I'm 50-some years old, and this shrinks your applicant pool down to like this. So then, okay, there it is. God, it's your problem, not mine. Close the book, put it in the drawer, and forgot about it. And about
2 years later?
2 years later, Stuart came into
The phone
my-
rings.
The phone rings.
So had you been in touch with these neighbors?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so they knew,
They knew both of us, and they...
had they tried setting you up before?
No. Oh. No one ever. I never dated while I was single. Never. No.
Okay. And so the phone rang.
And it was Stuart. And it was like homecoming. It was two old friends, you know, and we hadn't seen each other in 30 years.
Oh, in 30 years.
And 30 years had not seen each other.
How did that happen?
Well, he
Well,
moved
we
out.
had no reason to see.
He moved out of the neighborhood, you know, to Florida and then to California.
okay.
And I stayed in Baltimore. And you sit down and you talk about what's happened in your life over 30 years.
So I asked her out to dinner, and I show up at her apartment, and she had sushi and wine. And we never got to go to dinner.
But nothing happened.
We just talked. We just talked and talked. I canceled the reservation.
Where were you going to go?
I don't remember. But we did ultimately go out for dessert.
Okay.
Yeah. And then,
Double T Diner.
is that where we were?
I think so, yeah.
But then the way the relationship continued, I was traveling for hotels, and I was out, part of my territory was the West Coast, and I was here every 2 to 3 months on business from Baltimore, and we would see each other every 2 or 3 months, and it was a long-distance relationship for about 2 years.
For 2 years, okay.
But I did introduce Marty to my family, and my mother said to me, "Don't you mess this up."
How sweet.
She didn't know me at the time. I mean, no, I did know them. I mean, I knew the family. Baltimore's kind of small.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I've been to the Double T Diner. by
Oh,
the way.
really?
I have a friend from Catonsville, so I.
Oh, my
yeah.
God, then you know Baltimore.
Yeah, I know Baltimore.
Okay.
So your kids grew up together
Well, in the same neighborhood.
in the same neighborhood,
Yeah,
different ages.
Yeah, different
Yes.
ages.
Okay.
And then Stuart's wife moved down to Vernon Park.
Okay.
Okay, down towards Annapolis.
Okay.
So,
So the kids didn't really know each
Yeah.
other. Okay.
They knew who each other was.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Do you ever have big family gatherings?
We've tried.
we have, when you have grandchildren that are pushing teens, it's very difficult
Yeah.
to
Oh,
get.
even before that, because
Yeah.
they all have after-school activities.
Right.
It's been impossible to get them all together.
Right.
Yeah.
We've tried. We felt guilty about not succeeding, and then we gave up.
Yeah, just, until the kids get settled.
Right.
you know.
Right. Okay. Wow. I did stories I didn't know, and I've
Yeah.
known you guys. Okay. So then you moved here. How soon did you start getting involved with stuff in Laguna Woods?
Pretty immediately. I was still working, but I joined the Art Association. I became vice president of the foundation, in charge of fundraising, and of course now pickleball
Yeah.
and golf, etc.
Sorry, I forgot about pickleball.
Yeah. Yes. But here, you can sit in your apartment and do nothing, or you can
Right.
go out and
Right.
enjoy life.
Right. And Stuart, you got involved right away in everything, huh?
No.
Oh.
So I came here fresh from a divorce, licking my wounds. I had no intention of staying here. I was much too young for all these old people. And
Wait, excuse me. Let me go back a minute. So you had just gotten divorced from Florida.
Well, I moved out here from Florida
Okay.
with my wife at the time. She
Okay.
had family out here.
Oh, okay.
And within 2 years, we were
Okay.
divorced. Moved
Okay.
out in 2002, we were divorced. And I rented an apartment here just to get back in,
Right.
get myself back together again.
Right, right.
And I had no intention of staying here. In fact, when Marty and I got married, and she moved out here, we had no intention of staying here. We were going to go buy a house someplace else.
Okay.
And we found a wonderful place, except that the cost of that house was double what it cost to buy a place here.
Right.
But then,
And we made friends. You made friends.
yeah, we at this point, I was like very involved in the temple.
Right.
And you say, we can't leave.
Right.
All our friends are here.
Right. Right.
But I did not want to get involved here. I did not get the newspaper. I did not want to hear about any of the problems. And I was much happier. But when we got married, I guess we lived in that apartment for a year or two,
Yeah.
and then we bought a 3-bedroom garden villa
Okay.
place. And when we moved into that building, there was a couple living with their mother, one of the mothers, and they said that they were there for 2 years, and he was the building captain.
Okay.
And he said, "You're the youngest person in the building. When I leave, you're the building captain." And that's how I got involved.
We have issues saying no.
Yeah. Well, I think we both came to the conclusion, if we had not been through a lot of drama in our lives and recovered from it, I don't think we would have really connected.
I think I came here fresh from a divorce, and for what I see for myself, how healing Laguna Woods has been for me, and I assume I'm getting
Yes.
that it's extremely healing for you. It's amazing what this place can do for you.
Oh, it is a bit of paradise.
Yes, it really is. Hey, even though you're not president and Marty is, I know how active you are in the temple, and I've heard, Bertie told me, that you are now putting on a concert on top of everything else.
June 30th, it's the temple's main fundraiser for the year.
Right.
Our year ends June 30. We couldn't have fit it in. Well, you know what it is
Right.
to
It's
rent
impossible.
rooms out
It's
here and
impossible,
figure things
right.
out. Yeah, so we got it in June 30. So Bert Baum, who is a member of our temple, is paying for the entertainment. He made us an annual gift to the temple in order to have a musical event in memory of his wife who passed away a couple of years ago, who was Fran.
What kind of music is it?
Okay, so we are actually paying tribute to Debbie Friedman,
Ah, okay.
and who lived here with her mother, her aunt, and her sister. And for those who are not familiar, Debbie Friedman was
A world-famous icon in Jewish
classic,
music.
Yeah. Creating the opportunity for people to find their way into Judaism musically.
And a very positive
But-
musical
yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
Like
I
camp
think
music.
I think this is going to be great, and I know I'm going to be at the concert. Anyway, I got the 2-minute warning 2 minutes ago. So, I want to thank you guys
Thank
for
you.
coming on. This has really been fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Sheryl.
Thank you.
If you'd like to come on to the show, email us at lwvcouples@gmail.com. Include your name, phone number, and email address, and brief description of your story.